Grüezi miteinander, ganz herzlich willkommen und einen wunderschönen guten Tag, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren. Ich begrüße Sie abermals aus Georgien zu einer weiteren Sondersendung von Weltwoche Daily, die andere Sicht. Wir stehen hier in einem Krisengebiet an der Grenze zu einer militärischen Befestigungszone Russlands im Hintergrund. Das ist Südossetien. Südossetien bei uns nicht so bekannt, hier im Kaukasus allerdings ein ganz geläufiger Name natürlich, weil es Kriege gab, Sezessionen, die große Politik, die Geopolitik spielt hier hinein mit Russland in einer ganz entscheidenden Rolle, in einer, wenn man die Georgier fragt, sehr, sehr unheilvollen Rolle. Wir werden dann darüber sprechen. Ich habe einen Kollegen hier, einen Journalisten. Es ist Michael Winjanski. Er ist Korrespondent der spanischen Medienagentur EFE und selber Georgier und ein großer Kenner der Geschichte natürlich dieses Konflikts und auch seiner Bedeutung für die heutige Situation. Das ist ja immer noch unaufgelöst. Es gibt Leute, die geflohen sind, Georgier. Die Georgier akzeptieren diese russische Besetzung hier nicht und das ist im Moment alles irgendwo eingefroren, aber wir werden jetzt mit Michael auf Englisch darüber sprechen. Hi Michael, I just made a short introduction, a very brief one about the situation. Yes, can you explain what we see here in the background? This is South Ossetia, I said, and this was a war zone not very long ago. What is to see there in the background?
You can see in the background Russian military bases in South Ossetia. These military bases are here after the war that Georgia had against Russia, and it was 16 years ago, and Russia occupied 20% of Georgian territory. So when you are here, we are only a few kilometers from the capital of Georgia, from Tbilisi. You can understand better how many challenges has Georgia government in his foreign politics.
No. This conflict has quite a long history. Can you just give a very brief summary? Why was there a war? Why is Russia standing in South Ossetia? What is the basic thing one has to know to understand this complicated situation?
You know that Georgia is pro-European, pro-Western country, and Russia wanted to have a mechanism against Georgia, and Georgia's autonomy, South Ossetia and Abkhazia are like a Russian weapon against Georgia. Mm-hmm. So Russia used Abkhazians and South Ossetia separatists against Georgia.
And the conflict started after the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1989, 1992, is that correct? So it is, you could say it's the, Russia tries to have a control of this situation after the collapse of the Soviet Union. These were parts of the Soviet Union before.
Yes, right. South Ossetia and Abkhazia were autonomies, including Georgian Soviet republics. And after the collapse, you are right, Russia used these autonomies against Georgia.
And what is the importance of this conflict? What is the importance of South Ossetia and Abkhazia today for Georgia? What does it mean to live with this frozen conflict?
It is a very big challenge, as I told you, for Georgia, when you have 20% of occupied territories by Russia. So Georgia government has peaceful politics and tries to make a solution only in peaceful with Abkhazians and South Ossetians because they are citizens of Georgia.
And what is the status of these regions? Are they now they consider themselves to be an independent country, or is there the hope that this South Ossetia and Abkhazia can be part of Georgia again?
Russia now, we can say that they are under Russia control. They have Russia rubles. They are part of Russia economic and etc. And only 5 countries recognized independence of South Ossetia and Abkhazia: Russia, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Syria, and Nauru.
And what is the strategy of Russia? What is the strategy of Putin towards Georgia?
Putin and Russia, they want to have a mechanism against Georgia. They don't want Georgians, they are against Georgians' way to Europe and to NATO.
NATO membership and EU membership are part of the constitution of Georgia, paragraph 78. Do you fear that this paragraph that Georgia could become member of NATO, that this has the same effect as it had in Ukraine, where Russia says because Ukraine wanted to go to NATO, we intervened militarily?
I can only say that more than 80% of Georgia population, of Georgia people, want to be part of west of European Union and NATO. It's choice of Georgians because of it. Georgian Dream government put this paragraph in constitution 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of criticism in German media, in Swiss media about the government in Tbilisi, the new government with Prime Minister Kobakhidze and the new president, the former football player. They say they are too pro-Russian, they are puppets of Putin, and this government of Georgia wants to go into the Russian orbit, into the Russian stratosphere. It is not Western anymore. It's moving away from democracy. It's moving away from the West. What is your impression?
When you are here and you feel all challenges, when Russian military bases are near our capital of Georgia, you can understand better all challenges of Georgian government. The Georgian government put in the constitution the way to NATO and to European Union. But Georgia has no diplomatic relations with Russia after the war, but has an economic and humanitarian relation. It's life. And you should be very clever. Georgia's politic toward Russia is very clear. No diplomatic relations, but Georgia needs economical relations with Russia.
What does the majority of the Georgian people think about Russia, think about Putin? Do they think that Russia is an enemy of Georgia, or do they think that somehow we have to find peaceful coexistence with our neighbor Russia?
Yes. Putin is enemy, but we should find out peaceful relations.
So a very difficult task.
Yes, it's very difficult. And when you are here, you understand better that how difficult is the situation.
What does the election of Donald Trump mean for Georgia?
Georgia Dream during last 2 years spoke about global war party, about deep states, and now they are waiting for restarting relations with United States and then with European Union. So let's see.
Georgia had economic growth in last year of 9.5%. How is Georgia doing economically? I mean, there are a lot of international viewers, probably businessmen who think about investing in Georgia. Would you recommend international companies to invest now in Georgia? Or would you say it's difficult because of all these tensions and demonstrations and everything? What's your advice?
see the rankings of World Bank and International Monetary Fund, and they say that Georgia economic is very develops very good and has a very good perspective. So, of course, we have demonstrations, manifestations, etc. But the economic develops, and Georgia is like a bridge between Europe and between Asia, and it's the historical role of Georgia. To be bridge between Europe and Asia. So I think that you can invest in Georgia.
Yeah, when I talked to the Prime Minister recently, I asked him, do you suppress democracy? Do you use autocratic means? And he said to me, no, we are a democratically elected government. There was no election fraud. And it is our goal to preserve the independence of Georgia. We are not friends of Russia, but we try not to go into a war with Russia. What do you think? I mean, you see the demonstrations, you have covered all the situation here. What is there a point of truth in the criticism that this new government is authoritarian or moving away from democracy, or is this fake news?
I can say that it is, of course, there are a lot of problems in Georgia. But when you see demonstrations and manifestations every day during more than 70 days after the election, to speak that Georgia government is
illegitimate.
Yes, it is very hard to say that it's proof. I can say that I can work here like a journalist, like a Western agency journalist, very free.
Yeah. Let's, for our last question, let's talk again about South Ossetia and Abkhazia. If I would talk to a lot of Georgians and I would mention South Ossetia and Abkhazia, what would they tell me? Would they tell me that Georgia has to get these regions again, that they have to be part again of Georgia? What do the majority of the Georgian people think about this situation here at the border?
Georgian says, Georgia and Georgian people says that Abkhazians and Ossetians are not enemies. The problem is Russia politics.
Michael, many thanks for this information. For this conversation and for these informations. Meine Damen und Herren, Sie haben es verstanden, wir werden das auch noch untertiteln. Ja, wir sind hier also in einer sehr umkämpften Zone einst und es standen, Michael, sorry, I forgot to ask this, where we stand now, there were troops, also Georgian troops. There were fights, there were cannons, and were there fights, really troops going after each other?
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Exactly in this region here.
Exactly. You can see these regions.
Also genau an dieser Stelle tobte auch der Krieg von 2008. Das war ja die letzte große militärische Auseinandersetzung. Mit diesen Eindrücken heute ein etwas nebelverhangener Tag und eben da im Hintergrund dieses helle Rechteck, das ist das russische Militärcamp, das Michael Winjanski vorhin angesprochen hat. Ich danke Ihnen für die Aufmerksamkeit, melde mich ab fürs Erste, aber wir kommen zurück hier und nehmen weitere Eindrücke und Impressionen aus Georgien mit hier in die schweizerische Heimat und darüber hinaus. Merci vielmals, bis später.